Hello, Matt. I'm well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good, good.
Well, what music did you grow up with? What are your earliest musical memories?
Oh, golly. In my early days, there wasn't, the range of stuff, because my parents were into the music of the 40s, the swing tunes, so the Benny Goodman and the big band stuff back in that time. I have an older brother and sister, so in the 50s they were into the early rock and roll. Then the 60s came along, and I was into the folk scene. So I had these wonderful ranges of sound that were around me all the time in that area. There was nothing, specifically in the children's area back then, other than some storytellers and the variety stuff on Ed Sullivan and things like that. But I had a lot of really interesting, from classical to swing to rock to blues to country to the whole gamut.
It's funny that those songs now would be almost considered children's songs.
Oddly,
yeah,
it's true. I mean, I brought a lot of those tunes forward along the way, like "Ghost Riders in the Sky,"
right?
Or the Vaughn Monroe from that era. Often get requests for that one, because it's a good sing-along type of tune. I think that maybe is one of the elements that's really important in certainly in a children's song, or a song that works with a family audience, is some level of participation. And a lot of the tunes now don't necessarily have that, or they're not designed that way. And so when I bring forward that type of tune, it's embraced immediately.
Did you always want to be a musician?
I hadn't been told that this was an option in my life. Oddly enough, when I started singing when I was born, I suspect, but through elementary school and all through grade school and university, etc., I gravitated to anything musical, to choirs mainly, and then I started playing guitar when I was 15, and then a lot of acting and Gilbert and Sullivan type productions at high school. So I got into the character acting world, combined with the music and combined with the folk, the coffee house scene in the 60s. So that was the one thing that I had done in my life that really gave me more sense of purpose in a way. And then in the early 70s, my sister, who was a Down syndrome child, she passed away. She had a severe heart condition that we knew would not allow her to go much past 12 years old, and my father died a year later. So, in my early 20s, I had just finished a degree in economics from the University of Winnipeg, and I was primed to sort of follow that course. And suddenly, these mortality checks put me in a different perspective completely, and I started pursuing anything musical, playing lounges, bars, more acting stuff.
Would it have been kids' music then, or would it have been more folk stuff?
No, back then it was all folk.
Okay.
Doing the Gordon Lightfoot, Joni Mitchell,
Right.
Neil Young stuff, Peter, Paul and Mary. I mean that whole range of sort of country, like folk rock kinds of things. And again, the participation was a huge part of everything I did back then.
How did it change into children's music then?
Well, the evolution sort of came when I met my wife, who was a modern dance choreographer from Toronto, and she came to Winnipeg to study and further her modern dance career. She's now the co-director of the School of Contemporary Dance here in Winnipeg, and she came to the city and saw a need, or something in her that really wanted to develop a children's dance theater company. And so I wrote music, and she choreographed, and we developed these shows that we toured in the Manitoba school system. And from one of those performances led to an offer to do the first record. Basically, a doctor and his wife, they had 2 children, and they gave me almost literally a blank check to produce my first album, because they liked the music, they liked my voice, they thought that I showed promise, and they wanted to support it. So it was really my wife who was the turning point for the whole career path, and then we were married a couple of years after that, and now have 4 children. And
I was actually listening to your daughter's band earlier today.
Oh, really? Tuzo?
Tuzo, yeah. Very metric sounding. I like it. She got a good voice.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Great.
Do you ever feel? Speaking of, I mean, obviously that's a very far departure from what you're doing musically. Did you ever, or did you ever feel pigeonholed doing the kids' music? Did you ever just want to, put distortion on a guitar and just rock out?
I was never the rocker. I was always the folk kind of guy. I like driving the sound. When I get into jams, at festivals and stuff, I can move along pretty well with the with the crew. But as far as relating to an older audience, if that's part of the question, I've always thought of my music as being a pretty broad spectrum of appreciation from very young kids to parents and to grandparents. So dealing with a large mass of humanity, and the songs that I'll write often have very complex chord progressions and are quite fulfilling musically for me in many ways. But I certainly was pigeonholed, very clearly. And once Fred Penner's Place came along, once you do 1,000 television programs, at 10 o'clock in the morning, that is defined as the children's slot, and part of me has, certainly not resentful, because it has been and continues to be a very powerful and constant career for me. I'm still sort of living on the laurels that were built back then and building new paths from here. But a part of me really wants the people to understand that I'm more than just a children's entertainer. That even though that's not a negative, I do not condescend. I don't do childish kinds of things. I have a youthful exuberance that I bring to the table, and I engage an audience, of humanity on many levels. So it's an interesting question. I've never felt really held back, but at the same time, there is a little part of me that has a need for adult appreciation.
Which I hear you're getting now, though. You're doing more universities.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting
thing.
Pretty
cool. Well, I haven't done anything up in Edmonton in the campuses yet. I'm hoping that'll happen in the while. But I've played down Mount Royal and a couple of colleges in Calgary.
Okay.
I played UBC. I played Regina, Saskatoon, Winnipeg. A couple of places out east.
Mm-hmm.
So that's building, and it's great fun. I love doing that. It's inspiring because the kids who are now from 20 to 30 plus are really excited about my coming back to visit them and to share the music that they grew up with.
Yeah.
So that's really I'm really primed for that. I'm loving it. I'm staying healthy and creative. I'm writing new tunes for that genre.
And what are the subject matters? How different are the subject matters? They have to be a little different, I would think.
Not a whole lot.
Huh.
Of course, bringing tunes that I grew up with, again from the folk scene.
Right.
But the last one I wrote was called Face to Face, which is a really hard driving sound. I've been considering putting the electric guitar to it, because it's that kind of a song that could easily rock out on that level. But it's sort of a follow up to the ending song that I did on every Fred Penner's Place episode. It's called Take Good Care of Each Other.
I remember that, yeah.
And it's about we're all in this together kind of thing. So that's the subject matter of that particular tune. Take good care of each other. The planet is waiting, so make a plan. We all could use a helping hand. You survived your teens. You made it through. Now what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to take good care of each other. So then it drives from there. So it's still trying to bring those messages home to the audience. I think part of it is I am seen with an appreciation or an understanding that I do bring integrity to the plate here. I totally believe in the power of music to make a difference in the lives of certainly of a child, of any person. And so the music that I do, regardless of who it may be aimed for, is always about some positive message to it. And I'm in my 60s now, so that is I think a logical part of your evolution as well. When you reach this age, you automatically want to leave a legacy that has power and some longevity to it.
Well, I think you certainly have that with everyone, at least in my generation, for sure.
It's very cool, I've been certainly blessed to have a career like this. This is my 40th year of being a professional entertainer, and this is all I've done in my adult life. I've prior to that, I had a couple of short-term gigs as a child care worker and a part-time receptionist. A couple of things there. But once the music took hold, the timing was so right. The philosophy that I brought to the table because of the work that I'd done with behavior problem and disturbed kids, and from my own sister Susie and the power of her music, and my wife and her commitment to what was happening there, I brought some really interesting and very strong elements to my work, and so all the songs sort of followed on that foundation.
I just want to fall back on something you said before about that song that you're writing about taking care of each other. Is it sad that we still need that message? I understand why you're saying it to a 6-year-old because they need to learn that. But in your 20s or 30s or older, it's almost sad in a way that we still need to hear that because we're not doing it.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're losing a lot of our humanity along the way, I think. I'm not sure who's responsible for it, whether it's the technology, whether it's the government, whether it's there's got to be something that's causing it. But we're becoming very hedonistic, to say the least. We're very egocentric in many ways, and so much of it is what's in it for me kind of thing. And I'm seeing more and more elements of young people who are understanding that and who are bringing back some of the peace and love from the 60s. Mm-hmm. There's a festival that I'm playing again this year that I played last year for the first time. It's called the Evolve Festival. It's in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, and it's like going back to Woodstock.
Were you there? You weren't at Woodstock, were you?
No, I was. I almost went. We were talking about it, and then it was, I don't know if I have the money to do that. Oh, can I? It was one of those shouldas, or I'm not sure whether I should have or not. It would have been an interesting thing, but I was certainly there in spirit. In many ways, and this festival is really filled with such support and love for each other. It's just a delightful event. Anyway, so I'm and all the festivals that I've been playing across the country, from Dawson City to across BC, across the prairies. I did, I think, 10 festivals last summer. I was jammed, and this summer I have 6 or 7 going up to Yellowknife, and a good range of events. And what's really heartening is the music that this next generation who grew up with my music, what they're bringing to the table now is very, very strong. They're good songwriters. They're good performers. Their hearts are in the right places. I'm really optimistic because of the music that I hear at the festivals and what these young people are making now. So that's encouraging, But at the same time, maybe it's the mainstream needs to keep that message aware that we are in this together, and we do have to share our thoughts and dreams and feelings, and we do have to take care of each other.
Yeah, and I guess that message comes out in the kids' songs that are nowadays as well. But I feel like and maybe it's just because I don't have kids at the moment, and I'm not in that place where I'm listening to it all the time. But I feel like it's a lot more fast paced now. The kids are not getting what they got when 20 years ago when you were on TV and I was growing up.
No, it's a very bizarre concept that the television and even some of the recording things now feel that kids have no attention spans, and that there's and the hits that happen, certainly on television, it's like there's a 15-second hit period, and if you don't get the kid in that time, then you're going to lose them, and it just drives me crazy because it's ignoring the fact that these are beautiful developing little spirits that need time to digest things. We're in such a hurry with the email and the Facebook, and you can't fax anything anymore. I'll call you back in a couple of days once I think about this question that could be life altering for me. I don't, it's give me the answer now. I want the answer as soon as you can in the next 10 minutes. I want you to tell me what you think about that. So we're under this incredible pressure, I think, to make these decisions, to try and find an immediate answer somewhere in our being, and I think that kind of momentum has carried over into into a lot of the productions for certainly for children, and some of the stage stuff that I've seen drives me crazy because it starts off at a blistering level. The speed and momentum goes as high as your arm can reach, and it stays there for the entire show. The kids are overloaded with sound, with music, with color. It's just this blast, and it's impossible for them to sort of breathe for a moment. Say, yeah, I like that. Can we take a moment to appreciate what that was? So it's not necessarily a comparative thing, but what I try and do is this wave. I'll try and bring a song down to the quietest moment as possible, and then bring it back up again, and so you've got this flow that's happening. So at the end of a show, you feel like you have actually experienced something emotional in a way. So those are the things that I'm always fighting with, and whether I accomplish it or not all the time is something else. But that's what I aspire to, and I have from the beginning. So it's that's what keeps me going, and then the feedback again from the audience, finds the balance. And now doing early childhood conferences like the one I'm doing in Edmonton in in 4 days. Right.
Yeah, and then you're here again. Speaking of coming to Edmonton, you're coming back in a couple of weeks, Valentine's Day weekend, for a few shows.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. The AASCF at the West Edmonton Mall this Thursday, Friday. It's really an incredible conference. You should do a check on what they're doing. But it's a major association that's involved in anything and everything that can affect the family and children in the province. And then the second week of February, the 12th, 13th, playing at the
Millwoods Town Center.
Yes, that one on the Saturday and the Sunday. And at the St. Albert Center on the Friday.
And what are these? Are they just shows? Like you get up there with a guitar and just just a concert?
It's I've got a backup musician with me, and they set up a stage, and so it really is the mall trying to encourage people to come on down, and but it's fun because it's free for the audience, so I'll often get people who may not be able to afford to come to a regular concert, and that thrills me to no end. I'm really, really excited about that. So we'll sing and interact, and it's basically my usual concert work, only with in a different venue. It always takes on a little different life, and then I can dialogue and take requests and then sign autographs, and it's a very nice. I enjoy them. Some people look at me and say, "You're playing a mall?" At this point in my life, it's all pretty much the same. It's an odd thing to say, perhaps, but no matter where I play, whether it's a school or a mall or a concert for 2,000 people, I don't feel like there's really any difference in what I'm doing. There's value to every large or small connection that I have. I played just last week a couple of hours outside of Winnipeg at a Hutterite colony, and they had bussed in kids from 9 other colonies in the area. So I had 250 people from that side of the religious spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. They were so into what I was doing, and the messages again that I bring to the table, about cooperation, about family, about home. They're good messages, and certainly fit into their religious perspective. Without being religious,
right?
At the same time. So I'm living the dream. Yeah, no, I'm having a good time in this world.
Well, it must be very rewarding for you as a performer as well, because I would think most bands get up there, and I don't know when the last concert you were at, but I guess one of these festivals, and a lot of people just stand there. Maybe you'll get a couple of drunk people dancing, but you must see smiling kids' faces, and they're dancing out of just pure joy the entire time.
It's pretty hard to explain. When you see that happening, it's because it's this love is just pouring through them. I played at the West End Culture Center in Winnipeg in early December, and the stage was just at a perfect level where a child's chin could almost sit on the lip of the stage. So I had this sort of row of beautiful young faces looking up at me, and boy, it's a sensation that you really that I wish everybody could experience, to that degree, and it's quite cool, man.
Tell people about FredPenner.com, because you've built. We were talking about technology moving a little quick before, but you've built an entire world online for kids.
That is it's a little odd thing. The folks I have not a lot of input in that right now.
Okay,
it's going through some transition here, but yeah, we spent time trying to build a world, a virtual world in there. It sort of hit a bit of a wall because the idea with this initially was that it would be like an alternative to television,
mm-hmm.
and would be a subscribable site.
Okay.
And from subscription, that would be our resource to do more development.
That makes sense.
And we thought it did, but there's so much free stuff on the internet.
Yeah. That
people really aren't too committed to paying for any internet product. But that's fine. It's a neat little site. It's doing what it's doing. It's keeping people aware of the career and what's happening, and who knows, it might take another turn along the way, but. Yeah, the technology, the Facebook world, I'm still trying to deal with. Good God, are you a Facebook guy, Matt?
Of course, yeah. We have to be.
I guess
everyone, especially when you're out in public, like my job or your job, you need to be connected.
Be there
at all times.
I still have to figure out how to make a transition from just a regular Facebook person to a fan base kind of thing, because and who do you accept as friends?
Everybody.
It's crazy. Yeah, well, I didn't realize that, so I kept putting them into a separate file. So I've got over 900 people waiting for my confirmation, and to go back and say do each one. You can't do it as a blanket. Come on in.
Yeah.
So I have to figure out what I'm doing with this.
That's funny. I didn't think this conversation would get into Facebooking, but that's great. Before I let you go, we do something called 5 quick questions, 1-word answers.
Oh, okay.
TV or music?
Music.
I thought that'd be the answer. Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
Most important thing in a song: lyrics, melody, or rhythm?
Lyrics. Song
you've written you're most proud of?
She's a Baby.
Is it about your daughter?
No.
Okay.
It's about, when did I wrote it in about an hour. I was in Los Angeles years ago, and I had some time, and suddenly this popped in. It's just a really, really neat little perfect jazz type tune. And whether it's the most proud, I don't know. That's the first one that popped in my mind.
No, that's good.
I really love the tune.
And in one word, Fred Penner.
The man. I don't know.
That's a good answer. I like that because I would not have expected that.